Hello and welcome to Sleep Stories, the place where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We have a special long-length episode for you, a soothing compilation of 4 all-time favorite visits to Lily's Rainy Day Bakery. These gentle stories, written by Shady Grove Oliver and narrated softly for deep relaxation, are perfect for drifting off on a quiet evening. To help set the mood, we'll have the soft sound of rain playing gently in the background throughout. Before we begin, let's take a quiet moment to settle in more deeply. Find your most comfortable position, adjust your pillows, let the covers feel soft and warm around you. As you ease into stillness, bring your attention to your breath. No need to change it, simply notice the gentle rise and fall. If you like, let each exhale become a little longer, a little softer, releasing any leftover tension from the day. With every breath out, feel your body growing heavier, your shoulders easing down, your mind becoming quieter. If thoughts drift in, that's perfectly okay. Just let them pass like clouds on a slow-moving sky, and return gently to the rhythm of your breathing. Tonight, as you listen, allow the story and these calm sounds to guide you deeper into relaxation. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just rest, listen, and let sleep come when it's ready. And now, without any hurry at all, let's begin. Pumpkin pie and coffee. The raindrops patter softly against the bedroom window. The rhythm of this early morning shower is the first thing Lily hears as her mind drifts from dreams to wakefulness. She listens to every drop as it bursts gently on the glass. One by one she counts them until there are too many to follow. So instead she lets her mind wander as they all flow together, like grains of rice poured into a jar. This is the music of the season, she thinks, the patter of the rain and the timid rustle of leaves on branches. She smiles, picturing the beauty of the autumn colors and the gradual wrapping up of the year. Lily yawns and stretches her arms out over her head. Darkness still lingers outside, but it's time for her to get up. Soon she'll put on her hat and coat and walk down to her bakery to prepare for the first customers of the day. Although she starts her morning before all of her neighbors, Lily doesn't mind. She loves what she does and always looks forward to putting the very first treats in the oven and brewing the first cup of coffee. The smiles on the faces of the people she knows make the early hours worth it. Plus it means she's always ready for a good night's rest when the time comes. She sits up in bed and pulls the sheets away from her legs. Then she swings her feet over the edge. Her toes find the cozy warmth of plush slippers waiting on the floor. She shuffles into them and stands, yawning once more. Lily softly tiptoes into the kitchen. It just feels right to be quieter at this hour, when night fades slowly into day. Outside the window she can see the first hint of morning light reflected in gray behind the house across the street. There her neighbor is still fast asleep. He usually rises once the morning is well underway. After a cup of coffee he moves to his garden, where he trims the grass and checks in on each and every one of his flowers and bushes. He keeps the nicest plants that Lily has ever seen. She sighs with gratitude, thinking of all the kind and friendly people who live on her street. Lily walks over to the kitchen counter and brews herself a cup of strong black tea. It's her favorite morning drink. She adds a splash of milk and watches the creamy liquid circle through the cup, slowly mixing with the darker counterpart. Carefully she carries it over to her spot on the wooden seat beneath the kitchen window. She sits down and brings the steaming cup to her lips. The first sip is always the best. She welcomes the taste in her mouth. The tea warms her from the inside, like the embers of a cozy fire on a chilly day. Looking at the sky through the glass, Lily sees the clouds have formed a heavy blanket that hangs over town. It's unlikely there will be a break in the rain today, she thinks. But that's nothing to worry about. It always rains like this in autumn, and she enjoys the special feelings that come along with this time of year. If there were no rain, she wouldn't need to pull on her warm and fuzzy sweaters or slip her feet into her favorite rubber boots. She wouldn't get to wear her cozy scarves or use her cheerful colored umbrella. Really, the rain is easy to enjoy so long as you have warm clothes and a cup of tea. She takes the last sip and washes the cup in the sink, leaving it to dry on a little bamboo rack. Then she walks to her bedroom and dresses for the day. With a final glance at her comfortable bed, She heads to the front door. There will be plenty of time to rest later on. In the hallway, she pulls on her felt hat and woolen scarf and picks up her bright yellow umbrella. The door closes with a click behind her, and she steps out onto the walkway. She slides the umbrella open. It abruptly pops to life in a burst of color above her head. Sitting in the window of the house on her right is the little white cat she's come to know well. Its owner is a lovely woman who usually wears her hair in a bun. The cat stares at Lily as she passes, but its expression gives nothing away. She smiles at it and waves. Aside from her fluffy friend, no one else in the neighborhood has begun to stir. As she walks, Lily passes quaint homes with dark windows still tucked in for the night. Few porch lights flicker above brick front steps, and the street lamps around her give off a soft yellow glow which pools with the rainwater on the pavement. She listens to the sound of the rain trickling down the fabric of the umbrella. Beneath its sunny yellow canopy she is safe and dry. It reminds her of when she used to build pillow and blanket forts as a child. Hidden away under the folds of cotton and fleece, she felt as though the whole world was distilled down into a quiet and protected space that was all her own. Lily smiles at the memory and uses her free hand to pull the woolen scarf more closely around her. She skips over a puddle on her left and weaves around another on her right as she begins her descent of the hill leading to the bakery's parking area. In the distance, the brightly painted door of the shop stands out against the gloom. Swirls of green, blue, yellow, purple, and orange paint dance across the wooden exterior, welcoming all who enter. She vividly remembers painting the door one summer evening all those years ago. Brush in hand, she let her creativity lead the way, combining the rainbow of colors into spiraling patterns all across the wooden surface. When she finished, she brushed the hair out of her eyes and looked down. Her overalls and hands were splattered with flecks of dried paint. She laughed, caught up in the joy of bringing beauty to the ordinary, if only in a small way. Now Lily pulls out her set of brass keys and fits one into the lock on the door. It creaks open, revealing the dark interior of the still sleeping shop. She shakes off her umbrella and flicks a switch with her fingertip. The lights snap on, and she sighs with contentment. It's good to be back in the bakery. The smell of flour, sugar, and espresso beans greet her as she walks through the quiet shop. These aromas waft toward her from the kitchen, a reminder of yesterday's baking. There's also a hint of toasted pecans from the pie she made just before closing up. In her mind, she runs through all the things she plans to make today as she gets the bakery ready to open. She turns on the oven to let it warm up. First, she'll do cinnamon rolls, like always, she thinks to herself. But this time she can add some toasted pecans for a little extra crunch. She brings over all the metal components of the espresso machine that she left drying on the rack the night before. She'll also be making pumpkin pie today. She remembers every year around this time her customers start to ask when the pumpkin pies will be done. Some people like to order by the slice, but there are always a few hoping to bring home a whole pie to share with their family. Lily walks over to the cozy seating area and reaches down against the wall. Her fingertips find a plug which she inserts into the socket. Strands of fairy lights twinkle to life above her head. For a moment she stops moving and her mind settles. Lily takes a deep breath in and looks up at the lights. As she exhales, a sense of calm washes over her. It's important to slow down and enjoy the small moments, she thinks. After all, these are the ones that make life magical. With the lights shimmering on the ceiling, she walks over to the counter and into the small, open kitchen area. From here she has a clear view of the whole shop and can easily move from her baking table to the espresso machine when people come in. She pulls 2 large white buckets of dough out from under the counter. The sticky dough has been rising here overnight. She pours it onto the wooden surface and spreads it out flat. Then she sprinkles it with cinnamon sugar and toasted pecans and uses the tips of her fingers to roll it into a large log. She slices it into discs which have delicate spirals of filling running through them. She dusts the tops of each with more cinnamon sugar and then sets the tray in the oven to bake. After a few minutes, the delicious aroma of fresh cinnamon rolls wafts through the bakery. The comforting scent and the warmth of the oven intermingle, making Lily feel right at home. A while later the oven beeps. She takes out the tray of rolls and sets it on a wire rack to cool. Now it's time to start on the pie. She makes her way to the pantry at the back of the kitchen and opens the door. Lily thinks of this space as her own magic room, packed full of all the ingredients and supplies that she could possibly need. Tubs of flour and baking powder are stacked beneath large canisters of spices and bottles of flavor extract. A jar of vanilla pods sits on the topmost shelf. There is star anise, fresh cloves, and poppy seeds, onion powder, roasted garlic, and chili flakes. And there on the bottom shelf, tucked near the back, are fresh sugar pumpkins from a farm up the road. She chooses a hefty medium-sized pumpkin and tucks it under her arm. In a large metal mixing bowl she piles jars of spices and a few wooden spoons. She balances it all with the flair of someone who is used to carrying more than they should. Lily sets her armful of ingredients down on the counter. First she has to roast the pumpkin. She carefully slices the gourd in half and scoops out the stringy interior and seeds. Then she sets both sides face down on a baking tray and puts them in the oven to cook and soften. While the oven works its magic on the pumpkin, Lily gets to work on the crust. There are many different types of crusts she could make, but her favorite is graham cracker. She got the recipe from her Aunt Lucy, who always baked mini pies for all the children during the holidays. Lily pulls a plastic sleeve of graham crackers from their blue cardboard box and sets it on the counter. She lays a tea towel over the package and gets out her large heavy rolling pin. Gently she rolls it back and forth over the towel, crushing the crackers below. She works the pin from side to side, feeling the smooth wooden handles move beneath her palms. The crackers crunch and snap under the weight. Once they are the texture of rough sand, she pulls open the corners of the bag and pours the contents into a mixing bowl. A little puff of graham cracker dust tickles her nose. Lily walks to the large silver refrigerator and finds a stick of butter. She unwraps the waxy packaging and plops the stick into a mixing cup. It goes in the microwave for just a few seconds until the butter is melted. She pours the butter into the bowl with the crumbs and adds a good amount of sugar and cinnamon. Using a long wooden spoon she mixes them all together until they feel like wet sand. With her fingers she spreads the mixture into the bottom and sides of a shallow pie dish. She works over the crust methodically, careful not to let it crack along the edges. She pushes and presses, a little more here, a little less there. Before long it forms an even brown base. The oven beeps once again. Lily pulls on her thick colorful oven mitts and lifts out the tray of pumpkin. Then she slides the pie dish into its place. She sets the timer for 12 minutes, just enough to get the crust a little bit crunchy so it holds up under the weight of the liquid filling. Just then she hears a creak as the wooden door swings open. Her first customer of the day has arrived. As always, it's Seamus, the kind elderly man who likes to read his paper with a cup of coffee and a cinnamon roll. The only exception is on days like today, when she makes pumpkin pie. He smiles at Lily as she pours a long thin stream of coffee into a mug. He's been coming into her shop for so many years he doesn't even have to order anymore. By the time he reaches the counter and wishes her a good morning, Lily already has his breakfast ready to go. "Smells like pumpkin pie is on the menu," he says to her, taking his coffee in hand. She smiles and promises to bring him out a slice as soon as it's finished baking. He thanks her and takes up his usual seat by the window, snapping open the crisp fold of the morning newspaper. Now that he's here, it really feels like the day has begun. Lily and Seamus enjoy working while the other is in the shop. He is as much a part of this place as any of her other regular customers. Together they are a community, a family almost, and they call the rainy day bakery home. She looks at the timer and sees the crust is ready to come out. She pulls on her mitts and removes the dish from the oven. It smells warm, sweet, and toasty, just heavenly, as Seamus would say. Now Lily turns her attention to the pumpkin filling. With a spoon she scoops out the orange flesh of the pumpkin from the skin and drops it into a large bowl. She mashes it around with a wooden spoon until it has an even and smooth consistency. She brings over eggs and heavy cream from the refrigerator and begins cracking the eggs one by one, adding them to the pumpkin. Then she pours in the cream, watching its milky whiteness trickle through valleys of orange puree like little pearly rivers. Lily measures heaping spoonfuls of cinnamon, ground ginger, nutmeg, cloves, and cardamom. Together the spices call to mind everything familiar and comforting about this time of year. This is the aroma of the holidays, of family and togetherness. As she mixes, the air seems to hold her in a warm embrace of memory and scent. She grates in the tiniest bit of lemon zest into the filling to brighten the flavor and give it a little zing. She stirs it one more time until the mixture is perfectly smooth and silky. Carefully she pours the filling into the crust, using a spatula to clean the sides of the bowl and get every last drop. Then she slowly carries the wobbly pie to the oven and puts it down gently on the rack. With the timer set, she has a few moments to rest. She leans back against her table and looks out over the shop. There's a bookshelf in the corner where people have left little paperbacks and large hardbound art books. She's put in a few mystery novels herself over the years. After she finishes reading them, she likes to pass them on to someone else, knowing they'll bring the same kind of joy to new eyes. Near the shelf there's a small hand-painted children's rocking chair. She found it in a second-hand shop years ago and brought it into the bakery for her smaller customers. Over time, various children added their own special touches to the chair. Now it's decorated with flowers and bees, squiggly lines, and little scratches. The beep from the oven pulls Lily back to the baking at hand. The pie is ready. She opens the oven door and a hot breeze meets her cheeks like dragon's breath. It carries with it the nutty and savory sweet aroma of warm pumpkin pie. Lily pulls the dish out of the oven and sets it on the counter. It cools there while she cleans up all the mixing bowls, rolling pins, and measuring cups. Over by the window she can see Seamus casting curious looks toward the pie. She laughs and cuts him a slice. On second thought, she cuts an extra piece for herself too. It's been a long morning already, and she can think of nothing better than sitting with an old friend for a taste of something sweet. She puts each slice on a small white dish and plops a dollop of fresh whipped cream on top. Then carries them over to the table by the window and sits down across from Seamus. "Smells delicious, just like every year," he says, sinking his fork into the filling. Lily brings the first bite to her lips and savors the tanginess of the pumpkin against her tongue. The flavor is deep and aromatic. It fills her senses with warm, sweet spice. Perfect, she thinks. Just perfect. As she eats her pie, she looks around with pride at her little bakery. Seamus smiles. Good friends are excellent company on autumn days like this, she thinks. She looks at the fairy lights and watches them twinkle to the rhythmic pattering of the rain against the window. These are the details that make this place feel like home, Lily thinks. The bakery tells the story of its customers, of all the people who have ever walked through its creaky wooden door. She smiles, contented, knowing this is exactly where she's meant to be. Baked apples on a blustery day. Raindrops tap the window panes near Lily's bed. Every so often a gust of wind tosses the rain toward the glass with slightly more force. Lily lies under the covers with her eyes closed, listening to the sound of the storm ebb and flow. It's sure to be a blustery day, she thinks to herself. These final moments in bed before she rises in the morning are some of Lily's favorites, when her thoughts are dreamy and her mind still remembers the feeling of deep sleep. Before long she feels a yawn overtaking her and reaches her arms up and out in a big stretch. Next she circles her ankles a few times to the right and then to the left so they're ready to move when she steps out of bed. Lily takes a deep breath in and then lets it out slowly. As her body relaxes into the soft comfort of the sheets, just a minute more, she thinks to herself with a hint of a smile. The rain taps the window in waves, as though curtains of water are opening and closing over and over. Another large gust of wind rattles the branches of the tree outside and sends a flurry of raindrops toward the house. Days like this are always exciting for Lily, when the weather seems wild and unpredictable. It's as though the rain and wind encourage her to be a bit more spontaneous herself. With that thought she pushes herself up until she's sitting on the edge of the bed and then stands. Glancing out the window as she does, as always it's still quite dark outside. Lily wakes up early, before most people in town, as she has to have the bakery opened and ready by the time everyone else is starting their day. She knows the rest of the neighborhood is sleeping soundly. Even the house cats are probably dozing in fluffy beds or on pillows by windowsills, waiting for dawn. Lily slides her feet into her comfy slippers and then pads softly into the kitchen. The first thing she does is put on the kettle for a nice cup of strong hot tea. She leans against the counter as she waits for the water to boil, listening to the bubbles beginning to rumble within. Lily takes out a small metal tea ball from the drawer and fills it with fragrant strands of loose-leaf black tea. Each leaf stands at a funny angle in the ball, so she has to be careful not to let any of them fall out as she twists on the top. She hangs the tea ball over the side of her cup by a tiny metal hook and chain. When the water is ready, she pours it over the tea. Bubbles rise up from within the metal ball and it floats slightly before sinking to the bottom. A fan of tea color spreads out from it, shading the clear water as it swirls around. Lily lifts the cup to her nose and inhales deeply. She loves the smell of hot tea on a chilly morning. Feeling spontaneous, she decides to skip her usual splash of milk, opting to drink it black today. But still desiring the comfort of her routine, she carries it over to the wooden seat beneath the kitchen window. This is where she always drinks her morning tea, gazing out at the sleepy neighborhood on the other side of the glass. Some mornings the first rays of light would already be shining through the clouds by this time, but today the sky is heavy and dark. A blanket of gray clouds hangs low over town, and the rain is continuous, shifted only by the ever-changing wind. She can see how it bends and sways the branches of the tree across the street. It's definitely coat weather today, she decides. Lily sips her tea slowly, feeling herself warming up a bit more with every drop. She wiggles her toes inside her fuzzy slippers, enjoying the way it sends a tingling sensation across her skin. This is the most perfectly cozy morning, she thinks to herself. When she finishes her tea, she washes out the cup and sets it to dry on her bamboo rack by the sink. Although the sun hasn't come out yet, Lily knows it's time to get ready to head down to the bakery. After so many years of opening her shop each and every morning, Lily feels as though she has an internal clock that's calibrated to the second. She intuitively knows when she should be finishing her tea and when she needs to step out the door in order to make it to the bakery in good time. Lily shuffles into her bedroom, picks out a gray shirt to wear. It's a fitting color to match the weather outside. When she's dressed, she heads to the front door. She slips on her thick wool coat and buttons it up at the front. Then she wraps a chunky cable knit scarf around her neck. One of her regular customers, Rose, made it for her 2 winters ago. Now it's one of her most cherished pieces of clothing. Every time she pulls it on, she thinks of all the people she's able to call friend, and it makes her feel warm and toasty inside. Lily pulls one edge of the scarf up over her chin and then tucks the ends into her wool coat. She takes out a large pair of gloves from the coat pockets, slipping them on one by one. The last thing she has to get is her trusty yellow umbrella. Now she's ready to head out. She closes the door behind her and pauses on the front step to open the umbrella. The wind pushes against it, making it hard to raise the slider up to expand the canopy. But with a little determination, Lily gets it open, adding a splash of yellow to the otherwise dark morning. Heavy raindrops thunder against the fabric of the umbrella. The sound is magnified beneath it, so she can hear the plop and splat of every drop. She spies the small white cat that's always waiting for her in her neighbor's window, but this morning the cat is still asleep in the warmth of the house, with its pink nose tucked under its fluffy tail. Usually the cat is awake and washing its paws or following her path with watchful eyes, but today is a lazy day for the white cat. Lily watches as it naps contentedly behind the glass. For a moment she wishes that she too could be at home, tucked up in bed. But then she thinks of her regular customers, and it brings a smile to her face. They are the reason she gets up each and every day, rain or shine, and opens the door to the rainy day bakery. She continues walking down the wet pavement toward town. Every few steps she has to move to one side or the other to avoid a large puddle. The sidewalk glistens in the glow of the street lights, and still the sun is nowhere to be found. This will probably be one of those days where it stays dark until noon, she thinks. Up ahead she catches a glimpse of the brightly painted bakery door. Even in the dim light, the brilliant colors stand out, welcoming in all who pass by. It's a haven for people on a day like this. They can come inside, drink a cup of something hot, and have a slice of pie or a cinnamon roll, and read a good book. Some customers prefer to chat to one another, enjoying the company of new friends and old in a familiar place. Her bakery really has become part of the fabric of this community, she realizes. It's a home away from home, a spot where everyone can find something to make them feel happy and content. Yeah. Just as this thought crosses her mind, a gust of wind ruffles the fabric of her umbrella. The handle jumps in her fingers, and before she knows what's happening, the top canopy of the umbrella has blown backwards. No longer protected from the rain, Lily makes a dash for the colorful door. She pulls out her set of brass keys and inserts the right one into the lock. She clutches her bent umbrella under her arm and pushes open the door to reveal the dark, silent bakery. Lily wipes her feet on the entry mat so she won't leave quite as many wet footprints in her wake. Then she flicks the light switch with her fingertip, illuminating this small shop. Now that she's able to see a bit better, Lily looks down to inspect the damage to her yellow umbrella. Unfortunately, several of the connecting pieces of metal are bent in the wrong direction. Also, the slider no longer catches, so the canopy doesn't stay propped open anymore. With a sigh, she places the umbrella down on the ground in the entryway. It has served her well for many years, but it's time for a replacement. Lily had planned to be in the bakery all day, so she isn't sure when she'll have time to shop for a new one. It might end up being a very damp walk home tonight, she thinks to herself. But that's all right. She's used to the weather here, and she'll just have to make the best of it. Lily takes a deep breath to clear her mind and then exhales, refocusing on the tasks of the day. She smells the ever-present aroma of roasted coffee beans, along with a hint of burnt sugar from yesterday's cookies. It makes her think of toasted marshmallows with its sharp sweetness. She steps forward, flicks on the lights, bringing the bakery to life. She walks over to the seating area, bends down, and plugs in the strand of fairy lights that twinkle overhead. Now she's ready to start the day. Normally she begins by making a big batch of sticky cinnamon rolls, but like with her tea, she's feeling spontaneous. The wind or the rain patterning heavily on the ground outside, but Lily thinks it's time for a change. She heads into the cozy seating area and leans down to plug in a strand of fairy lights. Within moments they twinkle on overhead, like diamonds. With a bit more pep in her step, she walks back into the pantry. She runs her gaze over the shelves stacked high with baking supplies and ingredients. But what do I want to make today? She whispers to herself. She made a blueberry pie 2 days ago, lemon squares and pecan roses yesterday, and chocolate muffins last week. Those are all favorites with the customers. But then Lily considers what would make her happy. A few years back, Lily found her grandmother's cookbook on a shelf in the family house. While she was leafing through it, she came across a recipe she'd never tried before. It looked intriguing, so she marked her place with a piece of scratch paper in the spine. Lily's grandmother's cookbook now resides on a dark wooden bookshelf standing against the back wall of the pantry. With a smile, Lily walks over to the book and opens it to the dog-eared page. The recipe is simply titled Baked Apples. In the margins of the page, yellowed with time, Lily sees her grandmother's recognizable scrawl. A note reads, "Perfect for a chilly autumn day." Here and there across the page her grandmother wrote in corrections to the original recipe, little tips and slight changes of measurements to make the final product even better. This is what I'll make today, Lily decides. It's time to try something new. The ingredient list is fairly simple. She needs butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, rolled oats, chopped pecans, and several large apples. Lily gathers the ingredients and carries them back behind the counter. She leaves the butter out to soften. Then she begins preparing the nuts. She chops them coarsely and sets them to the side before measuring out the oats. Finally, she turns on the oven and leaves it to preheat. The next part of the recipe is a bit trickier. She has to core the apples and make a pocket for the filling without splitting them in half. Her grandmother wrote in the margin beside it, "Use paring knife and spoon." It instructs her. Lily picks up her paring knife and inserts the tip near the stem of the first apple. She slides it in and cuts in a careful circle around to the core. Then she twists it slowly to help the core detach closer to the bottom. With a gentle pull it comes free. The hollowed-out apple reminds her of a pumpkin with its seeds removed. She sets the fruit aside and moves on to the next one. Soon the task feels routine. She's able to remove the core with one swift movement over and over again until she has a row of apples ready to be filled. Next it's time to make the filling. Lily gathers the softened butter, sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg and mashes them all together with a wooden spoon. When the spices are evenly distributed, she stirs in the oats and pecan pieces. Then she takes a spoon and carefully stuffs the filling into the apples, right up to the top. When the apples are prepared, she lines them up carefully in ceramic pie dishes. Lily pours water into each dish so the bottoms of the apples are just submerged, prevents drying and burning, grandmother wrote. Finally, she's ready to put them into the oven. She slides her hands into thick oven mitts and places the pie dishes on the metal racks. Lily closes the oven door and sets the timer to let her know when she needs to check them. As she's beginning to clear up her workspace, she hears the door to the bakery creak open. It's Rose, one of her favorite customers and someone she now considers a friend after all these years. Rose smiles and waves from the door before unwrapping her scarf and hanging it over the back of a chair. Lily has her coffee ready by the time she's heading over to the counter. Rose thanks her with a warm smile and then asks how Lily's day has been going so far. Lily tells her all about the baked apples from her grandmother's recipe. She's excited to have her first taste tester if Rose is interested. The pair chat about the weather and how it's an especially blustery autumn day. Then with a sigh, Lily mentions her broken umbrella. "I don't know if I'll have time to replace it before I head home tonight," she says. Rose pats her on the arm. "Sure, it will all turn out just fine," she replies before carrying her coffee to her table and sitting down. Soon after, one of the other regular customers, Seamus, arrives. Lily brings him his coffee and promises him a baked apple when they're out of the oven. One by one, all of her morning customers file in. Some of them look like they've run through the storm, wearing coats splattered with raindrops. Others carry folded newspapers over their heads or open the door to shake out their umbrellas. She serves them a variety of coffees, teas, and sweets. When the timer goes off, Lily turns away from the seating area and faces the oven. Carefully, she pulls out the pie dishes filled with apples, which are now soft and gooey. Out of the corner of her eye, Lily notices Rose speaking with different customers. She wonders what they're all talking about at this time of the morning, but it's just a passing curiosity as her mind returns to the task at hand. She carefully plucks the apples out of the water-filled pie dishes and sets them on individual plates. Then she walks over to the refrigerator and takes out a carton of whipping cream. She pours some in a bowl and spoons a bit of sugar on top. Then she uses a handheld mixer to beat it into whipped cream. The mixer drones on as the beaters spin, and Lily watches Rose head out the door. But she hasn't even tried her baked apple yet, Lily thinks. When soft peaks form in the white cream, she stops beating. With a metal spoon, Lily drops a dollop of whipped cream on every apple, along with a drizzle of her famous caramel sauce. The warm fragrance of the hot apples and rich cream is tantalizing. It permeates the air, creating an atmosphere of homey comfort. She carries the first plate out to Seamus and sets it in front of him. Next there are plates for the family in the corner, the woman with the newspaper, and the man who usually orders cranberry scones. As she's distributing the apples, Lily sees Rose walk back through the door. In her hand is a long thin package wrapped in shiny paper. Rose beckons to Lily, who comes over. She says, handing her the package. On it is a handwritten note, "To Lily, from all your friends at the Rainy Day Bakery." Lily pulls open the paper to reveal a brand new umbrella inside. This one is green with yellow polka dots and a handle in the shape of a duck's head. "This might be the most cheerful umbrella I've ever seen in my whole life," Lily tells Rose as she admires it. "Thank you all so much." Looking around the room, Lily can see that the other customers are smiling widely too. This was a present from all of them, she realizes, a present from all of our friends. The thought fills Lily with warmth and joy. This place and these people give her a true sense of belonging. "I've got something for you too," she tells Rose with a wink, handing her one of the last 2 baked apples from her grandmother's recipe. The other Lily keeps for herself. Together they sit by the window, gazing at the wet, gray, and windy day outside. But here in the Rainy Day Bakery, everything and everyone is safe, warm, and loved. Lily uses a spoon to scoop out some of the soft apple and gooey filling, perfectly spiced and deliciously sweet. And it's made even more so knowing that her grandmother guided her along the way, and she's sharing it now with the best of friends. The perfect batch of cookies. The first thing Lily hears when she opens her eyes is the sound of gentle rain coming down outside her window. There isn't even a hint of wind, so it's just the steady rhythmic sound of droplets hitting the ground. She yawns, bringing her arms up over her head and stretching her legs out as far as they'll go. Then she relaxes into her soft bed, enjoying these last few moments of restfulness before the day begins. In a way, Lily has a big day ahead. She'll be hosting the annual cookie decorating party at the bakery. She made several batches of sugar cookies yesterday, but she's still got more to do before people start arriving later this morning. This is one of her favorite times of year. The bakery is always a nice place to be, but on Cookie Day it's full of warmth, laughter, and the smiling faces of her friends and neighbors. Lily stretches once more and then shifts her legs over the side of the bed and sits up. Her fuzzy slippers are right where she left them last night. She puts them on and then pulls her robe off the hook on the back of her bedroom door, snuggling into its cozy warmth. She walks quietly into the kitchen. Her morning routine is almost always the same. First, she puts the kettle on. While she waits, she fills a metal tea ball with a delicious cranberry orange spiced black tea. It's one of her favorites to drink in winter. When the water is hot, she pours it over the tea ball into the cup and breathes deeply as the spicy steam fills the air around her. She pours in a splash of milk and then carries it over to her wooden window seat. The sun rises later at this time of year, so it's still quite dark outside. She can see the hint of a nightlight in her neighbor's house across the street, but most people here are still asleep. Because she opens the bakery every morning, Lily has to be awake before everyone else. She's always enjoyed that part of her job, being the one to usher people into their day with a cup of coffee and something sweet. She hopes it helps them start off right. Although she gazes out the window for quite some time, the sky overhead stays dark and cloudy. They were forecasting snow today, she thinks to herself. I wonder if it will come after all. She brushes the back of her hand against the cold glass of the window. It just has to get a bit colder, she thinks with a smile. Snowy days always make the bakery a bit more magical to Lily. From where she works behind the counter, she has a clear view out the windows to the street. Whenever it snows, she likes watching it pile up on the pavements where children run through it laughing and smiling, or build snowmen by the street lamps. She's always enjoyed watching the rain too, of course, but everyone needs a little extra magic sometimes. Lily takes her last sip of tea and carries the cup over to the sink. She washes it and leaves it to dry on her bamboo rack. Then she heads back into her bedroom to get dressed. Every year during the cookie party, Lily wears the same charming sweater. She got it several years ago as a Christmas gift. It features a friendly snowman with large trees in the background. The snowman was knit as a pile of squares rather than circles and has a very goofy grin. It makes her smile every time she wears it, and her customers always seem to enjoy it too. When she's ready, she walks out of her bedroom to the front entryway. Lily pulls on her coat, scarf, hat, and gloves. Then she picks up her new umbrella, green with yellow polka dots and a handle shaped like a duck's head, and loops the cord around her wrist. Closing her door with a click, she steps out into the early morning rain. It's let up a bit since she was in bed. Now it's more of a drizzle, but she still prefers the warm and dry comfort to be found beneath her umbrella. Lily slides it open and holds it above her head. The drops make a gentle pitter-patter on the cheerful fabric as she begins to walk down the road. Every time she uses this umbrella, it makes her think of her friends and longtime customers at the bakery. When her trusty old umbrella broke during an autumn storm, they bought her a new one as a gift. It was a gesture of kindness she thinks about often, and she's happy for the reminder on this rainy morning as she gazes up through the colorful polka dots streaked with lines of water. Looking over at her neighbor's window, she's surprised to see a black cat instead of a white one. It appears to be watching her with watchful eyes as it presses its nose to the glass. Then, just behind it, Lily spots a flicker of white. Sure enough, it's a tail belonging to the cat she's used to seeing on her walk to work. She watches as the cats readjust and curl up together like semicircles, completing each other's pattern. How nice for the white cat to have a new friend, Lily thinks. Now they can keep each other company. With a smile, Lily continues on her way down to the bakery. Soon the familiar multicolored door comes into view. The first hint of dim gray morning light is playing on the horizon, and it's just enough for her to make out the different hand-painted hues. Soon sliding the key into the lock and turning the handle to open the door. Tapping into the warmth of the bakery, she gently shakes out her umbrella and leaves it to dry in the entryway. Lily wipes her feet on the mat and then switches on the overhead lights. Then she takes off her coat and hangs it up, leaving the bulbs in the pocket. Before going behind the counter, she finds the end of the strand of fairy lights in the seating area and plugs them in. They flicker to life above her. That might be my favorite moment of the day, she thinks to herself. She knows she's back home at the bakery as soon as the fairy lights are twinkling overhead. With a feeling of gratitude for this comforting space, she takes a deep breath, inhaling the deliciously familiar scents within it. The coffee beans synthetic yet rich. The flour dusty and reminding her of weekends spent with her grandmother baking all sorts of wonderful treats. And the sugar sweet and a little bit burnt, reminding her of days at the fair and holiday cookies shaped like trees and ornaments. Exhaling, she feels her muscles relax. She rolls her shoulders a few times, allowing them to warm up and stretch out. Then she walks behind the counter. Before she left the bakery yesterday, she set aside a recipe for one of her favorite cold weather treats to make: fudge. Looking at the worn handwritten page smeared with cocoa powder fingerprints and torn at one corner is enough to bring the rich chocolate taste to mind. Yes, she thinks, this is exactly what I want to make today. One of her favorite things about this recipe is how simple it is. It only calls for 2 base ingredients: chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk. Lily thinks for a moment about the flavors of fudge she'd like to make. Some of her regular customers always request peppermint, so she'll have to get out the peppermint extract and a package of candy canes to crush on top. Rose loves hazelnut fudge, so she'll need whole hazelnuts for the top. And finally, she's been in the mood for some rich orange chocolate, so that's what she'll make for herself. She even has some leftover candied orange peel that she can use to give it an extra kick. She heads into the pantry and finds her trusty double boiler, the right size pans, wax paper, chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk, and all the flavorings and toppings. Balancing them in her arms, she carries them behind the counter, setting them down carefully. Lily admires her shiny silver double boiler. It's the secret to well-melted chocolate chips, her mother told her. Over the years she's used bowls over pots and other variations, but when it came time to open the bakery, her mother's words echoed in her mind. So she got her very own gleaming double boiler. Lily fills the bottom pot halfway with water and then nestles the second pot on top. She places it on the stove and then shakes a good portion of chocolate chips into the top pot. As the water below heats up, the steam melts the chocolate even without causing it to burn. With a wooden spoon, she gently stirs the chips, watching as they transform, hard to malleable to soft and gooey as they move round and round the pot. Soon they've melted together into a molten lake of chocolate. She adds the sweetened condensed milk and stirs to combine them. She'll make the peppermint fudge first. So once she removes the boiler from the heat, she adds a spoonful of extract and stirs again. The sharp cooling scent of peppermint fills her nose, opening her senses and making her think of cold winter days full of ice and snow. Before it has a chance to cool too much, she pours the chocolate mix into a pan lined with wax paper. Ribbons of fudgy liquid cascade into the metal holder, filling every corner like lava running through a rocky channel. Lily uses the wooden spoon to scrape the sides of the pot, making sure every bit of fudge is accounted for. Then she gently lifts the pan and taps it on the counter, helping the liquid fill any remaining gaps and evening out the top. Now it's time to add the topping. From a nearby drawer, she retrieves a heavy rolling pin. One by one, she unwraps several red and white candy canes, peeling back the plastic in strips. Her fingertips get ever so slightly sticky as they touch the sugary sweets. She places the candy canes in a bag between 2 towels and then pushes the rolling pin back and forth on top. Subtle snapping noises let her know the candy is breaking apart. Once it's crushed into tiny pieces, she gathers some in her palm and sprinkles it over the cooling fudge. The The larger chunks of candy will give the fudge a nice crunchy texture, while the smaller ones will lend an extra bit of peppermint essence. Lily carries the fudge over to the cooling racks where it will wait until it's ready to be sliced and served. In the meantime, she'll wash up the pot and prepare the next 2 batches. Before she begins the next batch, she zests a whole orange. She'll use the little flecks of peel to give the fudge a brighter citrusy flavor in combination with orange oil. Once she has the chocolate chips melted and stirred together with the milk, she adds the zest and oil in the pan. This melted fudge glistens in the light. The oil blends it to a silkier texture. Lily can picture the way it will melt in her mouth when she takes the first bite. She places curls of candied orange peel across the top of the fudge, gently pressing them down so they'll cool in place. Then she pops one piece in her mouth, delighting in the sharp citrus flavor muted by the thick coating. Finally, it's time to make the hazelnut fudge. Just as she's about to put the water on the stove, Rose appears on the other side of the counter. "Sure is foggy out there," she says to Lily. Rose tells her she got turned around this morning leaving her house and thought for a while that she'd gone the wrong way. The fog was so thick she could barely see her hands in front of her. But then in the distance she saw the twinkling lights in the bakery windows. They were like little guiding stars, ushering her through the gloom to her home away from home. Lily smiles broadly as Rose recounts her tale, and she's particularly excited to let Rose know that their hazelnut fudge is coming her way later on. "Oh, that's my favorite," Rose says, clapping her mittened hands together softly. Lily pours a cup of coffee and hands it to Rose, who carries it over to a comfy seat by the window. Returning to the stove, Lily sets up the double boiler and combines the chocolate and milk just like before. Then she removes the mixture from the heat, adds hazelnut flavoring and some crushed hazelnut pieces, and pours it into the lined pan. To finish it off, she carefully places whole hazelnuts in neat rows across the top of the fudge. Every piece will have one, adding crunch and depth of flavor. Glancing over at Rose, she sees the other woman smiling as she catches a whiff of the hazelnut fudge. The rich scent permeates the air, mingling with the orange and peppermint, perfect medley for a chilly day. While she waits for the fudge to cool, Lily decides she'll use the time to get the bulbs in the ground. Besides, it's a slow day and I'll be able to see anyone coming in, she thinks. She walks over to Rose and lightly rests a hand on her shoulder. "I'll be outside if you need anything," she says. To her surprise, Rose offers to help. How lovely to have company out in the garden, Lily thinks. While she feels completely at ease spending time alone with her plants, she always enjoys time spent with good friends. And after so many years, Rose is most definitely a good friend. Together, Lily and Rose head to the door, slipping on their coats and scarves on the way out. When they reach the small garden, Lily pulls the bag of flower bulbs out of her pocket. Rose opens the top of a workbench where a few tools are stored and finds a couple of trowels. The two women kneel down on the ground, laughing together as they feel the dampness of the soil soaking into the knees of their trousers, and begin to dig. They chat about all the seasons they've watched go by here at this bakery. There was the time Max from the hardware store accidentally ordered 12 dozen cupcakes instead of 2 dozen for his daughter's birthday party. They were practically begging people to take cupcakes with them for a couple of days. And the one summer when a storm came in and washed out a few roads, stranding visitors in town. Everyone congregated at the bakery, making coffee and snacks and collecting blankets, children's books, and more to keep their new guests comfortable until the roads were repaired. "We've had some good times here, haven't we?" Rose asks. Lily nods, patting down the soil around the last flower bulb. Standing up, she steps back to admire their work. Rose follows her. They stand together in companionable silence, sharing a moment of reflection and gratitude for years well spent. And Lily watches the fairy lights twinkle like guiding stars in the foggy gloom, leading all who need a home away from home, no matter the weather. A foggy day for fudge. The patterning on the glass gently eases Lily into wakefulness. She doesn't open her eyes at first but keeps them softly closed as she savors a few more moments of rest. Without realizing it, she dozes off, the sound of the rainfall mingling with visions of damp streets and puddles in her mind. And then slowly the dream fades as her mind returns to her bedroom. Lily smiles and opens her eyes at last, grateful for the few extra minutes of sleep. Even now the sound of the rain is growing faint. It might let up altogether, she thinks. As she stretches her arms above her head, she traces circles with her toes, feeling her ankles warming up with every turn. Then she slides her legs over the edge of the bed. Once her feet have found their comfy slippers, Lily makes her way into the kitchen. Like she does most mornings, she puts the kettle on for a nice cup of tea. She loves the sound of the bubbles forming inside it, familiar and soothing, a kind of cozy background noise to the otherwise quiet morning. Bubbles and rain are the two things Lily can always depend on at this time of day that make this place feel like home. She thinks about the other small meaningful details of her life as she spoons dry tea leaves into a tall tea ball. Twisting on the top, she hangs the ball by a tiny chain from the rim of her mug. When the water is hot, she pours it over the leaves. She watches the hot water take on the color of the tea leaves as they steep. This is a detail she appreciates. No matter how many mornings she watches her tea, it always creates new color patterns in the mug. The act of making tea is familiar and yet new and exciting at the same time, she thinks. Lily pours a splash of milk into her tea and then carries it over to her wooden window seat. Looking out through the glass, she can see her neighborhood is still shrouded in darkness. The rain has given way to a light mist, and she can make out the first wisps of fog rolling in behind her neighbor's house. The man who lives across the street keeps a beautiful garden during the spring and summer months. Even now in autumn, everything growing around his house seems perfectly in its place. The brown, red, and yellow leaves that have already fallen from the trees overhanging his lawn remind Lily of an artistic splattering of paint on a green canvas. He is still asleep at this time of morning. Most of the neighborhood is. I must be one of the earliest risers in town, Lily thinks with a smile. But she doesn't mind the hours she has to keep to run the bakery. It makes her happy to know that her customers always have a place to go when they wake up too. As she gazes across the street, Lily notices a small bit of earth that's recently been turned. He must have planted his bulbs yesterday, she realizes. It reminds her that she should probably do the same. There's a small garden just outside the bakery where Lily has experimented with planting various things over the years. One year she planted herbs, another tomatoes and peppers. Now it's a flower garden, or it will be in springtime, but she needs to get her bulbs in the ground soon. They rely on the cool autumn soil to wake up from their slumber and put down roots for the spring. I'll have to remember to bring them with me to the bakery today, she tells herself. After finishing her tea, Lily takes one final glance out the window. The fog is rolling in around the house across the street now. Fog was in the forecast, Lily remembers. She's always enjoyed a good foggy day, something mysterious and magical about fog, she thinks, as though enchantments and worlds of possibility are hidden just out of sight. The thought makes her grin as she stands and carries her mug over to the sink. After washing it out, she leaves it to dry on her bamboo rack and heads into the bedroom to get dressed. Today she chooses a red shirt with yellow details to wear. If it's going to be a gray day, she might as well bring a pop of color with her outfit, she thinks. By the front door she finds a paper bag filled with flower bulbs. They are fairly round and in between hard and soft to the touch. The daffodil, narcissus, and crocus bulbs remind her of onions and garlic, while the hyacinth bulbs are reminiscent of turnips because of their reddish-purple color. Lily slips on her coat and gently stuffs the bag with the flower bulbs into the large pocket. She puts on her hat and gloves and loops the handle of her green and yellow polka dot umbrella around her wrist. She opens the door and for a moment stands and looks out onto the quiet street. The fog is obscuring her view in all directions. She can only just make out the line where the pavement meets the road in front of her house. She imagines the rest of the homes are sleeping soundly, tucked away in gentle folds of gray. Lily takes a deep breath. The fog and the rain before it have had a cleansing effect on the air. It smells cool and rejuvenating. Feeling refreshed, she closes the door behind her and begins her walk. Small puddles dot the pavement, but none are so big that Lily has to walk around them. Her boots allow her to make her way through them with a little care and attention. It mustn't have been raining very hard or for much time last night, she thinks. It's nice to walk down to the bakery without her umbrella open too. She takes advantage of this and looks up into the gray sky. The fog encircles the tops of the trees that line the street. weaving in and out of their brown branches and among their colorful leaves. Lily reaches out her hand and swishes it quietly through the air. She can feel the mist gathering on her skin. Looking at her hand, once she pulls it back, she sees it's dotted with countless translucent droplets. Normally she would be tempted to wipe her fingers on her coat to dry them off, but instead she brings her hands together, inviting the moisture into her skin as though she's applying lotion. It's soothing, knowing she's connected to this place, this weather, to the trees and the sky. Lily lets her gaze fall on the space where she knows her neighbor's house should be. She can see the edge of his drive, but the house is hidden behind a white and gray mass of fog. Her neighbor has 2 cats, one white and one black. Lily hopes they're snuggled up together in their favorite window seat, dreaming of warm summer sunshine and catnip. As she continues on her way, she listens to the rhythmic sound of her feet tapping the pavement with every step. The fog makes sounds feel closer than normal. Everything is amplified under this blanket of weather. It takes longer than usual for Lily to spot the bakery. Its recognizable multicolored door peeks out from behind a swirl of fog for just a moment before being tucked away once again. Lily smiles. Even if she couldn't see the door at all, she'd still know it was there. She's done this very same walk every morning for so many years she could probably find her way blindfolded. But still, it's a comfort to see it, and to know she'll soon be stepping inside, surrounded by the familiar aromas of coffee beans, sugar and flour, and plugging in the twinkling fairy lights that will bring her little shop to life. She pulls out her set of keys and inserts the right one into the lock. Heading inside, she wipes her feet on a mat and then switches on the overhead lights. Then she takes off her coat and hangs it up, leaving the bulbs in the pocket. Before going behind the counter, she finds the end of the strand of fairy lights in the seating area and plugs them in. They flicker to life above her. That might be my favorite moment of the day, she thinks to herself. She knows she's back home at the bakery as soon as the fairy lights are twinkling overhead. With a feeling of gratitude for this comforting space, she takes a deep breath, inhaling the deliciously familiar scents within it. The coffee beans synthetic yet rich. The flour dusty and reminding her of weekends spent with her grandmother baking all sorts of wonderful treats. And the sugar sweet and a little bit burnt, reminding her of days at the fair and holiday cookies shaped like trees and ornaments. Exhaling, she feels her muscles relax. She rolls her shoulders a few times, allowing them to warm up and stretch out. Then she walks behind the counter. Before she left the bakery yesterday, she set aside a recipe for one of her favorite cold weather treats to make: fudge. Looking at the worn handwritten page smeared with cocoa powder fingerprints and torn at one corner is enough to bring the rich chocolate taste to mind. Yes, she thinks, this is exactly what I want to make today. One of her favorite things about this recipe is how simple it is. It only calls for 2 base ingredients: chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk. Lily thinks for a moment about the flavors of fudge she'd like to make. Some of her regular customers always request peppermint, so she'll have to get out the peppermint extract and a package of candy canes to crush on top. Rose loves hazelnut fudge, so she'll need whole hazelnuts for the top. And finally, she's been in the mood for some rich orange chocolate, so that's what she'll make for herself. She even has some leftover candied orange peel that she can use to give it an extra kick. She heads into the pantry and finds her trusty double boiler, the right size pans, wax paper, chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk, and all the flavorings and toppings. Balancing them in her arms, she carries them behind the counter, setting them down carefully. Lily admires her shiny silver double boiler. It's the secret to well-melted chocolate chips, her mother told her. Over the years she's used bowls over pots and other variations, but when it came time to open the bakery, her mother's words echoed in her mind. So she got her very own gleaming double boiler. Lily fills the bottom pot halfway with water and then nestles the second pot on top. She places it on the stove and then shakes a good portion of chocolate chips into the top pot. As the water below heats up, the steam melts the chocolate even without causing it to burn. With a wooden spoon she gently stirs the chips, watching as they transform, hard to malleable to soft and gooey as they move round and round the pot. Soon they've melted together into a molten lake of chocolate. She adds the sweetened condensed milk and stirs to combine them. She'll make the peppermint fudge first. So once she removes the boiler from the heat, she adds a spoonful of extract and stirs again. The sharp cooling scent of peppermint fills her nose, opening her senses and making her think of cold winter days full of ice and snow. Before it has a chance to cool too much, she pours the chocolate mix into a pan lined with wax paper. Ribbons of fudgy liquid cascade into the metal holder, filling every corner like lava running through a rocky channel. Lily uses the wooden spoon to scrape the sides of the pot, making sure every bit of fudge is accounted for. Then she gently lifts the pan and taps it on the counter, helping the liquid fill any remaining gaps and evening out the top. Now it's time to add the topping. From a nearby drawer she retrieves a heavy rolling pin. One by one she unwraps several red and white candy canes, peeling back the plastic in strips. Her fingertips get ever so slightly sticky as they touch the sugary sweets. She places the candy canes in a bag between two towels and then pushes the rolling pin back and forth on top. Subtle snapping noises let her know the candy is breaking apart. Once it's crushed into tiny pieces, she gathers some in her palm and sprinkles it over the cooling fudge. The larger chunks of candy will give the fudge a nice crunchy texture, while the smaller ones will lend an extra bit of peppermint essence. Lily carries the fudge over to the cooling racks where it will wait until it's ready to be sliced and served. In the meantime, she'll wash up the pot and prepare the next two batches. Lily steps away from the cooling racks where the peppermint fudge sits, its crushed candy cane topping sparkling like fresh frost under the soft bakery lights. The scent of cool mint still lingers in the air, mingling with the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the muffled patter of rain against the windows. She rolls up her sleeves a little higher, feeling the pleasant warmth of the kitchen on her skin after the morning's chill. The double boiler sits on the stove, its interior coated with remnants of dark chocolate and sweetened milk, glossy streaks that catch the light like polished mahogany. Lily fills the sink with warm water, adding a drop of lemon-scented soap that bubbles softly, releasing a bright, clean fragrance that cuts through the richness of chocolate. She submerges the pots one by one, watching the water turn a gentle cocoa brown as residue loosens. With a soft sponge, she circles the interior slowly, methodically, no rush, no hurry. The motion is soothing, almost meditative, the warm water soothing her hands, the quiet swish of sponge against metal a gentle rhythm. She thinks of all the batches this double boiler has seen, countless chocolates melted for truffles, caramels stirred for sauces, ganaches whipped for cakes. It is one of her most trusted companions in the kitchen, reliable and steadfast. Rinsing carefully, she sets each piece on the drying rack, water dripping in soft, musical plinks. Steam rises gently, carrying away the last traces of peppermint. The kitchen feels peaceful in this in-between moment, the calm before the next creation. Before she begins the next batch, she zests a whole orange. From the small basket of citrus on the counter, Lily selects a bright, plump orange, its skin dimpled and fragrant, heavy with promise. She holds it to her nose for a moment, inhaling the sharp, sunny scent that always lifts her spirits, no matter the weather outside. With a small, sharp zester, the one with the comfortable wooden handle, she begins to grate the outer peel. Fine curls of vibrant orange fall like delicate snow onto a waiting plate, releasing bursts of citrus oil into the air. The fragrance is immediate and invigorating, bright, tangy, alive. It cuts beautifully through the lingering chocolate sweetness, waking the senses. Lily works slowly around the fruit, turning it carefully to avoid the bitter white pith beneath. Each stroke releases more scent, filling the kitchen with sunshine on this foggy day. She'll use the little flecks of peel to give the fudge a brighter citrusy flavor in combination with orange oil. The zest piles up, delicate, feathery curls glowing like tiny flames. Lily pauses to run her fingers through them, feeling their slight stickiness from the natural oils. She smiles, already imagining how they will sparkle against dark chocolate and add bursts of freshness with every bite. She sets the zest aside and begins the next batch, the orange chocolate fudge that she's been looking forward to all morning. The double boiler is ready again, clean and gleaming. She adds fresh chocolate chips and sweetened condensed milk, stirring as they melt together into glossy richness. Once she has the chocolate chips melted and stirred together with the milk, she adds the zest and oil in the pan. The mixture is smooth now, deep brown and velvety, coating the spoon thickly. Lily sprinkles in the orange zest, generous but careful, watching the bright flecks disappear into the warm chocolate like confetti in a dark sea. Then she adds a few drops of pure orange oil, potent and concentrated. The scent blooms immediately, sharp and sweet, transforming the chocolate into something vibrant and uplifting. She stirs slowly, thoroughly, until every swirl carries the citrus brightness. This melted fudge glistens in the light. Under the soft bakery lamps, it shines like liquid silk, deep, rich, inviting. Tiny specks of zest catch the glow, sparkling like embedded jewels. The oil blends it to a silkier texture. The addition of orange oil smooths everything. No graininess, just luxurious glide. Lily lifts the spoon, watching the fudge coat it thickly, then drips slowly back into the pot in lazy ribbons. Lily can picture the way it will melt in her mouth when she takes the first bite. She imagines it already, cool and firm from setting, then yielding instantly on the tongue, flooding with deep chocolate warmth lifted by bright, sunny orange. A perfect balance, rich yet refreshing, comforting yet lively. She pours the mixture carefully into another wax paper-lined pan, smoothing the top with gentle strokes of her spatula. Then she places curls of candied orange peel across the top of the fudge, gently pressing them down so they'll cool in place. The candied peels, made earlier in the season with thin slices of orange simmered in sugar syrup until translucent, are sticky sweet and fragrant. She arranges them in graceful swirls and lines, pressing just enough so they adhere but retain their delicate curl. The contrast is beautiful, glossy dark chocolate studded with bright orange jewels. Then she pops one piece in her mouth, delighting in the sharp citrus flavor muted by the thick coating. Unable to resist, she breaks off a small curl that didn't quite fit the pattern and tastes it. The candied peel is perfection, intense orange essence wrapped in crisp sugar, melting slowly. She closes her eyes for a moment, savoring. Finally, it's time to make the hazelnut fudge. The rhythm of creation carries her forward naturally. The kitchen is her sanctuary, each step familiar and comforting. She cleans the double boiler once more, warm water, gentle scrubbing, the soothing repetition calming any lingering hurry. Then sets it up again, water below, fresh chocolate chips above. The melting begins anew, chips softening, blending, becoming that magical liquid chocolate. Just as she's about to put the water on the stove, Rose appears on the other side of the counter. Rose steps in from the fog, coat dusted with mist, cheeks pink from the cool air. She shakes off her scarf, smiling broadly. "Sure is foggy out there," she says to Lily, voice warm with affection. Lily looks up from her preparation, delighted as always to see her dear friend. Rose tells her she got turned around this morning leaving her house and thought for a while that she'd gone the wrong way. The fog was so thick she could barely see her hands in front of her. But then in the distance she saw the twinkling lights in the bakery windows. They were like little guiding stars, ushering her through the gloom to her home away from home. Lily smiles broadly as Rose recounts her tale, heart warmed by the image, her fairy lights serving as beacons through the mist, drawing friends safely to warmth and sweetness. And she's particularly excited to let Rose know that their hazelnut fudge is coming her way later on. "Your favorite," Lily says with a wink, gesturing to the ingredients waiting. "I saved the best for last." Rose claps her hands softly, eyes lighting with anticipation. The moment feels perfect. Friendship, fog, the promise of hazelnut fudge on a quiet morning. "Oh, that's my favorite," Rose says, clapping her mittened hands together softly. The sound is muffled and gentle, like snow falling on a thick blanket. Rose's eyes sparkle with genuine delight, her cheeks rosy from the warmth of the bakery after the foggy chill outside. She stands at the counter, coat still on but scarf loosened, watching Lily with the kind of affectionate anticipation that comes from years of shared mornings and quiet conversations. Lily smiles back, her heart warmed by Rose's enthusiasm. Hazelnut fudge has been Rose's favorite since the very first time Lily experimented with the flavor, years ago on a similarly gray autumn day. Rose had taken one bite and declared it like a hug from the inside, and ever since, Lily makes sure to have a batch ready whenever the weather turns cool and damp. She reaches for a fresh mug from the shelf, one of Rose's favorites, pale blue with a tiny chip on the handle that gives it character, and pours a steady stream of rich, dark coffee from the pot. The aroma rises in fragrant steam, mingling with the lingering scents of orange zest and peppermint from the earlier batches. Lily hands the mug across the counter, their fingers brushing briefly in that familiar, comfortable way of old friends. Rose wraps both mittened hands around the warm ceramic, inhaling deeply. "Perfect, as always," she says, voice soft with contentment. She carries it over to a comfy seat by the window, her usual spot, where the fairy lights overhead cast a gentle glow and the view of the foggy street feels like looking into a soft, dreamlike painting. The chair is deep and cushioned, upholstered in faded floral fabric that Lily recovered herself one slow winter. Rose settles in with a sigh, tucking her feet up beneath her, the mug cradled close. Returning to the stove, Lily sets up the double boiler and combines the chocolate and milk just like before. The ritual is soothing in its familiarity. She fills the bottom pot halfway with water, nestles the top pot in place, and sets it on the burner. The gentle heat begins to work its magic almost immediately. She measures out the chocolate chips, rich, dark, with just enough bitterness to balance the sweetness to come, and tips them into the top pot. They clink softly against the metal, then begin to soften as steam rises. With a wooden spoon, the one with the worn handle, shaped perfectly to her hand from years of use, she stirs slowly, watching the chips melt and blend into glossy rivers of chocolate. The scent rises, deep, warm, comforting, the kind of aroma that makes people pause at the door and smile before they even see what's baking. She adds the sweetened condensed milk, stirring until the mixture becomes silky and smooth, thick enough to coat the spoon. Then she removes the mixture from the heat, adds hazelnut flavoring and some crushed hazelnut pieces, and pours it into the lined pan. The hazelnut extract, pure and intense, releases its nutty, slightly sweet fragrance as she stirs it in. A handful of gently crushed hazelnuts follows, adding texture and depth. The pieces are irregular, some larger for crunch, some finer for flavor, folding into the warm chocolate like treasures hidden in velvet. Carefully, reverently, she pours the mixture into the wax paper-lined pan. It flows in slow, glossy waves, filling every corner, the surface gleaming under the kitchen lights. To finish it off, she carefully places whole hazelnuts in neat rows across the top of the fudge. Each nut is selected for perfection. Smooth, golden brown skins, plump and fragrant from gentle toasting earlier. She presses them lightly into the surface, arranging them with the care of an artist placing jewels on a crown. Every piece will have one, she thinks with satisfaction, adding crunch and depth of flavor, a little surprise in every bite. The pan settles on the cooling rack beside the others, peppermint with its bright candy cane sparkle, orange with curls of candied peel glowing like tiny sunsets. Glancing over at Rose, she sees the other woman smiling as she catches a whiff of the hazelnut fudge. Rose has her eyes half closed, face tilted toward the steam rising from her coffee, but her smile widens as the new scent reaches her. She opens her eyes and meets Lily's gaze across the room, lifting her mug in a small, appreciative toast. The rich scent permeates the air, mingling with the orange and peppermint, perfect medley for a chilly day. The bakery fills with layered fragrances, cool peppermint like a breath of winter wind, bright orange zest cutting through with sunshine, and now deep, warm hazelnut wrapping everything in nutty comfort. The aromas dance together, neither overpowering the other, creating a harmony that feels like the essence of autumn turning toward winter, crisp and cozy all at once. Outside, the fog presses gently against the windows, softening the world to shades of gray. Inside, the fairy lights twinkle like captured stars, and the scents promise sweetness and warmth to anyone who steps through the door. While she waits for the fudge to cool, Lily decides she'll use the time to get the bulbs in the ground. The thought comes softly, naturally, the way good ideas do when the mind is calm and the hands are busy. The flower bulbs have been waiting in her coat pocket all morning, their papery skins cool against the fabric. The garden behind the bakery, small but beloved, has been prepared for weeks. Soil turned, weeds pulled, ready for its winter sleep. Besides, it's a slow day and I'll be able to see anyone coming in, she thinks. The fog has kept foot traffic light, only a few dedicated regulars braving the mist for their morning coffee. She can hear the soft clink of Rose's mug on the table, the occasional turn of a newspaper page from Seamus in his corner. The bakery hums with gentle quiet. She walks over to Rose and lightly rests a hand on her shoulder. "I'll be outside if you need anything," she says, voice soft as the steam still rising from the cooling fudge. To her surprise, Rose offers to help. Rose looks up from her coffee, eyes bright. "I'd love to," she says warmly. "My knees aren't what they used to be, but I can manage a few bulbs. And the fresh air will do me good." How lovely to have company out in the garden, Lily thinks. While she feels completely at ease spending time alone with her plants, hands in soil, mind quiet, the simple joy of nurturing growth, she always enjoys time spent with good friends. And after so many years, Rose is most definitely a good friend. They have shared countless mornings like this, coffee and conversation, laughter over spilled flour or unexpected customers, quiet moments watching seasons change through the bakery windows. Rose was one of the first regulars when Lily opened the shop, always arriving with a kind word and a ready smile. Over time, their relationship deepened into true friendship, the kind where silence is comfortable and stories flow easily. Together they bundle up again, coats buttoned, scarves tucked, gloves slipped on. Lily grabs the bag of bulbs from her coat pocket, feeling their satisfying weight, and leads the way to the side door that opens onto the small garden. The fog greets them as they step outside, cool, damp, enveloping. It softens every edge, turning the world into a gentle dream. Sounds are muffled, distant car hums become whispers, bird calls float as if from far away. The garden itself is a small square of earth bordered by the bakery wall and a low wooden fence painted in the same cheerful colors as the front door. In summer it bursts with flowers, now it rests quietly, soil dark and rich from recent turning. They kneel together on the soft ground, knees sinking slightly into the cool earth. A gentle laugh escapes them both as dampness seeps through fabric, the shared, familiar discomfort of gardeners everywhere. Lily opens the bag, spilling bulbs into her palm, round daffodils, reddish hyacinths, delicate crocuses. Rose takes a trowel from the workbench, handing one to Lily. They begin to dig, small, careful holes in neat rows. Conversation flows easily as they work. Memories of past seasons surface gently, the year the sunflowers grew taller than the fence, the spring when tulips bloomed in unexpected colors from mixed bulbs, the summer storm that brought strangers together in the bakery for days. Laughter bubbles up again and again, soft, warm, comforting as the fudge cooling inside. When the last bulb is tucked safely into soil and patted down, they stand, brushing dirt from knees and hands. The garden looks ready now, sleeping peacefully under fog's gentle blanket, waiting for spring's awakening. They stand together in companionable silence a moment longer, breathing in cool air scented with earth and distant rain. Then, arms linked, they return inside, to warmth, to fudge, to the quiet joy of friendship and a day well spent. Together Lily and Rose head to the door, slipping on their coats and scarves on the way out. The bakery kitchen still hummed with the lingering warmth of the oven and the rich, comforting scents of freshly made fudge. Peppermint sharp and cooling, orange bright and zesty, hazelnut deep and nutty. The 3 pans sat cooling on wire racks behind the counter, their glossy surfaces beginning to set, promising slices of pure indulgence for the customers who would drift in as the foggy morning unfolded. Lily wiped her hands on her apron one last time, feeling the pleasant ache of a morning well spent in her shoulders and wrists. The simple act of creating something sweet and nurturing always left her with a quiet glow of satisfaction, as though she had woven a little more kindness into the fabric of the day. Rose stood waiting near the seating area, her coffee cup empty on the table, a soft smile on her face. She had been watching Lily work with the fond familiarity of old friendship, the way Lily moved with calm purpose, the gentle precision in every stir and pour. "Ready for a bit of fresh air?" Lily asked, untying her apron and hanging it on its hook. Rose nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. Those bulbs won't plant themselves, and I could use a stretch after all that delicious smelling but no tasting." Lily laughed softly. "You'll get your hazelnut fudge soon enough. Promise." They moved together toward the front of the shop, the wooden floor creaking companionably beneath their steps. The fairy lights overhead twinkled like captured stars, casting a warm, golden glow that made the space feel even cozier against the gray fog pressing at the windows. Lily paused to grab her coat from the hook by the door, thick wool, soft from years of wear, the color of deep forest green. She slipped it on, buttoning it snugly, then wrapped her favorite scarf, the chunky cable knit Rose had made for her winters ago, around her neck. The wool was warm and comforting, carrying faint traces of the bakery's scents from previous days. Rose did the same, pulling on her own coat and scarf, mittens tucked into pockets for later. The two women shared a glance, full of understanding, affection, and the easy comfort of long friendship, before Lily pushed open the door. A cool, damp breath of foggy air rushed in, carrying the clean, earthy scent of wet soil and distant rain-soaked leaves. The world outside was muffled, softened by the thick gray blanket of mist that swirled gently in the street. When they reached the small garden, Lily pulls the bag of flower bulbs out of her pocket. The garden lay just to the side of the bakery, a modest patch of earth Lily had claimed years ago, bordered by a low wooden fence painted the same cheerful colors as the shop door. In spring and summer it burst with blooms, daisies nodding in the breeze, lavender releasing its calming fragrance, sunflowers stretching tall toward the light. Now, in late autumn, it rested quietly, spent stems trimmed back, soil turned and waiting for winter's sleep. But not quite ready to sleep yet. Lily reached into her deep coat pocket and drew out the paper bag of bulbs she had brought from home. The bag rustled softly as she opened it, revealing the treasure within: round, firm bulbs in shades of cream and reddish purple, daffodils, narcissus, crocuses, hyacinths, each one a promise of color and life come spring. Rose opened the top of a workbench where a few tools were stored and found a couple of trowels. The workbench, a sturdy wooden table Lily had salvaged and painted sunny yellow, stood against the bakery wall, sheltered by a small overhang. Its top drawer held an assortment of garden tools: hand forks, pruning shears, gloves, and the two well-worn trowels Rose now lifted out. Their handles were smooth from years of use, blades still sharp enough for soft autumn soil. "Perfect," Lily said with a smile, taking one. The two women kneel down on the ground, laughing together as they feel the dampness of the soil soaking into the knees of their trousers, and begin to dig. The earth was cool and rich, dark from recent rain, yielding easily to the trowels. Small clumps broke apart with satisfying softness, releasing the deep, clean scent of soil ready for planting. Lily knelt first, coat spread around her like a cape, scarf tucked warmly at her neck. The damp seeped through her trousers almost immediately, but it was a familiar, grounding feeling, connection to the earth that would nurture these quiet promises through winter's sleep. Rose joined her, kneeling with a soft oof and a laugh. "Good thing we're not wearing our best today," she said, brushing a strand of hair from her face with the back of her wrist. They laughed together, light, easy laughter that bubbled up naturally between old friends. The sound mingled with the soft shush of trowels in soil and the distant, muffled calls of birds hidden in fog. Lily dug the first small hole, just deep enough, just wide enough, and nestled a daffodil bulb inside, pointy end up as her grandmother had taught her long ago. "Roots down, shoots up," she murmured with a smile, covering it gently with soil and patting it into place. Rose mirrored her movements beside her, planting a hyacinth bulb with care. The rhythm was soothing: dig, place, cover, pat. Dig, place, cover, pat. Their breath came in soft clouds in the cool air, hands gradually warming with work despite the damp. They chat about all the seasons they've watched go by here at this bakery. As they worked side by side, conversation flowed easily, the kind of talk that meandered like a gentle stream, touching on memories both recent and long past. "Do you remember the spring we planted those first sunflowers?" Rose asked, smiling as she tucked a crocus bulb into its bed. Lily laughed softly. "How could I forget? They grew taller than the fence, nearly blocked the whole path. Customers had to duck under petals to get to the door. And the bees loved them," Rose added. "We had to put up little signs. Mind the bees, please." They shared a quiet chuckle, hands moving steadily. There was the time Max from the hardware store accidentally ordered 12 dozen cupcakes instead of 2 dozen for his daughter's birthday party. Lily paused in her digging, eyes twinkling. "Oh, that poor man. He came in red-faced, saying his daughter wanted a few cupcakes for her friends. Next thing we knew, boxes stacked to the ceiling. They were practically begging people to take cupcakes with them for a couple of days." Rose laughed, patting soil around another bulb. "I took 6 home myself. My grandchildren thought it was Christmas in July. And old Mrs. Henderson took a whole box for her bridge club, Lily recalled. She said it was the most exciting meeting they'd had in years. The memory warmed them both, hands moving steadily through cool earth. And the one summer when a storm came in and washed out a few roads, stranding visitors in town. Lily's voice softened with the recollection. That was something, wasn't it? The rain came down in buckets, roads turned to rivers overnight. Everyone congregated at the bakery, making coffee and snacks and collecting blankets, children's books, and more to keep their new guests comfortable until the roads were repaired. Rose nodded, eyes distant with memory. We turned the whole place into a little inn. Kids reading stories in the corner, strangers becoming friends over coffee and cinnamon rolls. I remember one family from out of state. They ended up staying 3 days. The children still send me drawings every Christmas. Lily smiled, placing the last daffodil bulb and covering it gently. Those are the days that make this place feel truly alive. Not just a shop, a home. We've had some good times here, haven't we? Rose asks. Her voice was soft, reflective, as she patted down the soil around her final bulb. Lily nodded, sitting back on her heels to survey their work. Rows of small mounds marked the sleeping bulbs, promises of yellow trumpets, purple hyacinths, delicate crocuses come spring. Standing up, she steps back to admire their work. Soil clung to her gloves and knees, but she brushed it off with satisfaction. The garden looked tidy now, ready for winter's blanket of snow or frost. Rose follows her. They stand together in companionable silence, sharing a moment of reflection and gratitude for years well spent. The fog still swirled gently around the bakery, softening edges, muffling sounds. Fairy lights twinkled through the windows like warm beacons. Lily slipped an arm around Rose's shoulders, a quiet gesture of friendship deepened by time. And Lily watches the fairy lights twinkle like guiding stars in the foggy gloom, leading all who need a home away from home, no matter the weather. The lights danced softly, golden, welcoming, visible even through the mist. They promised warmth, sweetness, company to anyone wandering the gray morning. Lily felt deep contentment, this garden planted, this friendship rooted, this bakery waiting to welcome the day. Spring would come. Flowers would bloom. And until then, there was fudge cooling inside, friends gathering, life continuing in its gentle, beautiful way. And so ends our special long episode of Cozy Visits to Lily's Rainy Day Bakery. Filled with the warmth of friendship, the scent of fresh baking, and the gentle magic of rainy days. I hope these stories have wrapped you in comfort and carried you softly into deep, peaceful sleep. If you enjoyed drifting off with us tonight, please give this video a like, share it with someone who could use a relaxing bedtime listen, and subscribe to Sleep Stories, with notifications on, so a new soothing tale finds you every week. Thank you for being here. Sweet dreams. Good night. Crescent Moon.